Well, this is what has been happening. I want to bring you so fast to it. On 25th of January 2022, I was at National Treasury pursuing some issues of EVANS, and it appeared that the Speaker had already written a letter to terminate my services at Central Bank of Kenya. I wasn't aware of that letter. I came back on the 26th of January. When I came back on the 26th of January, no one mentioned it, either the clerk, the speaker, or the members of County Assembly Service Board, and I knew everything is okay. I went back to Nairobi to process the requisition of funds that are yet to be credited in the County Assembly of Migori. So when I was in Nairobi on the eve of fast, I was called by a section of staff that the speaker was already at the County Assembly premises and his intention was to break into my office. I had no intention of what was going on and why there was need to break into my office. But I knew that Migori County Assembly is a secured place, so it never bothered me much. Later on in the morning of 2nd of February, I was informed that last night the speaker was arrested together with unknown men, 7 of them, that they were stealing files from finance office. And that really was not a good thing. The police and the other people responsible called me to come and write my statement over the issue, so I traveled on that very second. Now I reached here evening, almost at night, and I wasn't able to record my statement. On the morning of 3rd, before writing statement, I think other staff in my department had written their statement. The speaker was already taken to court to take a plea. Now what happened is that when I was there, the sergeant at arm, Dixon Odie, told me that the speaker had informed him that there is some letter for me. Now that appeared to be the letter which was written early on 25th of January. Now I was wondering, if you wrote a letter on 25th of January and you've copied me, why wait until you break into my office is when now you want to give me the letter. And what was the motive of breaking in? I do not work in finance office alone. There are other officers there. There are secretaries there. The speaker is the head of the institution. He needed only to call for the files if there was nothing malicious. So on 3rd, I received that very letter at around 4 p.m. and I just take it positively. I don't have any issue with it. Then on 6th, which was on a Sunday, Speaker has some campaign center that he had established for the cause of vying for governor. It's largely known as Miujiza Center. He calls other board members that they are still seated there on the 6th, which is on a Sunday. They look for a reason, because I had not been summoned or otherwise to appear before this board for any cause or any case. So they look for a reason and they write for me a letter. That letter is having a resolution of the board. It doesn't indicate where they met, the date they met. It's just like the board met and you are under investigation. For 60 days you will be on a paid leave, that you'll be home. I find this malicious on 2 fronts. Number 1, you don't terminate my service as a central bank and then get into my office, vandalize the computers and all the financial documents. You are charged in court. Then instead of that very board that the speaker was asking the speaker key questions, the number 1, as a chair service board, you broke into a premise which is a public institution. Why did you do that? Number 2, you are charged with tags. They are non-men. These are not employees of the county assembly. Now this board conspicuously agrees with the speaker for the act that he did. It means contrary even to the court that the speaker is having that case. Now send somebody who is a witness in that case on a 60-day leave for that very witness now to be investigated. Now that I went to court to challenge. And by yesterday, I had obtained a court order. And those orders were, number 1, that those terminations at Central Bank be temporarily be placed on hold to allow for the hearing and determination of that case, that those 60-day leave be placed on hold for a hearing and accomplishment of that case. So I had all the rights to go back and access the office because I had obtained an order of the same. And I had asked myself before even obtaining the order that, number one, I am a key witness against these County Assembly Service Board members. And Speaker is charged together with all these board members. And according to the EACC Act, once you are charged with anti-corruption case, you stand suspended. And these guys, after being charged in the anti-corruption case in Kisumu, they have refused to leave office and use selective way to send some of the culprits home. For instance, the very board that were charged with the counting officer, Clerk Opere, wrote to Tom Opere that he's been charged in court and he needs to vacate office. And they were charged together. They write to Mr. Manuel Abala that you've been charged in court, please go home. They write to Steve Okello that you've been charged in the same case. And they are all charged in one pool. And then they sit pretty and say, as there is no law that puts us aside. I had said, this is malicious because all of them are facing the ethics and anti-corruption case in Kisumu. And this was people of the same interest because I was the adversarial, because I was the witness in their case. Number two, I was again a witness in the Speaker's case for breaking in and vandalizing my office. So as at today morning, as at yesterday I had served a court order, it was received by the clerk. Yeah? So I was going to follow up with the Human Resource Office this morning, yeah, on the next course of action that they are going to take to implement, either to agree with the order issued by court or otherwise. Reaching there, the impeached Speaker and other people, while they saw me get in, there was a collection of some few staffs, not all staffs, that wanted to heckle me. Yeah? I stepped out shortly, but I went back. When I went back, the staff had surrounded me and they were asking me quick questions. That, number one, we were being told by the Speaker that you are responsible for the financial malpractice of the Assembly. Then I started explaining to the staff that, number one, it is constitutionally and conventionally across the country that Migori County Assembly, as other county assemblies, is headed by the Speaker. Secondly, after the Speaker, there is a Migori County Assembly Service Board. After Migori County Assembly Service Board, there is a clerk who is the secretary to that board, who is the accounting officer and the AIE holder. So all matters finance are addressed by the clerk. We are support staff that offer professional advice. And there is no way you leave an accounting officer responsible for approval of all payments and you maliciously attack a staff. That is very true. Because even at all those banks, the person that must approve those payments, even at Kenya Commercial Bank, it is the accounting officer. Other staff only appear as agent. So I said, this is political. And I was not going to allow the staff to be used wrongly to attack a fellow staff who had no responsibility on financial management. And the Public Finance Management Act is very clear too, that the accounting officer of the county assembly shall be the clerk, not a principal finance officer. And that very clerk is responsible for all finances. Yeah? Now, that clerk takes the resolution of the county assembly service, which is chaired by Speaker. So I knew this was a political comeback strategy after his impeachment of yesterday to ensure that the legal process that has started going on should not be implemented. And I was not going to allow that because I was civil enough. I never went to the county assembly and challenged the leave. I went to court and the court issued the order. So if the Speaker and the staff and any other person who wanted to challenge me will go to court and obtain a contrary order, and then that is fine. That is what is going on in the county assembly today. Thank you.